Hello, everyone, and welcome yet again to another edition of the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast, brought to you, as always, by the GSMC Sports Network. My name is Christopher Shepard. Thank you guys yet again for tuning in. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend, but we are back yet again with another week of fantastic shows. And to start off the week, this show will be no different. We will start off dissecting the Euro semifinals in terms of betting odds. We should have two very intriguing ties. Then we will also be looking over the Euro's fantasy stars of this past weekend in the quarterfinals. And we will also be going over the Paul George trade to the 76ers, how that impacts the team as a whole. And then we will finish out with two player profiles of two QBs who are on divergent paths in terms of their NFL careers. But before we begin with any of that in today's show, I do ask that you like, follow, and subscribe to the show and the network as a whole. Also, we do receive a ton of tips and donations, so if you do feel so inclined, please consider leaving them at the link gsmc.cloud. It is a huge support to both me, my fellow podcasters, and ultimately the network as a whole. Anything you leave is greatly appreciated. Also, if you do have any burning questions, comments, or concerns about any prior segments I have done, or even segments from today's show, please leave them at the link as well, and they will be addressed at the beginning of the next episode. But without further ado, let's jump right into a very exciting first segment as we are going over the European Championships, specifically the semifinals, and the four teams that are represented there. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Over the weekend, we had an exciting, really tasty crop of quarterfinals where the matchups were just so enjoyable to watch. Everywhere on the pitch, there were goals galore, there were moments of tactical genius and brilliance, and games were truly won with fierce, beautiful football. And if you were a fan of any of the teams, I know I was a fan, but unfortunately my team is out, the host nation, of course. But any game that you laid eyes on that weekend was special to watch. And looking at these four teams right here, all of them bring something different to the table, something valuable that can lead them to a win at this European Championships. Very, very different paths to getting here. Obviously, one side of the bracket was much stronger than the other. But without further ado, let's jump right into these four teams and kind of how they got there, and look at the betting odds as well, because that's the important factor here. Starting off, I will say the more exciting on paper tie in this semifinal in between Spain and France. Obviously, both of these teams were on the tougher side of the bracket. Spain obviously having to beat the host nation Germany in a very emotional game where there were some fantastic changes of play. Spain obviously kind of looking the most vulnerable they've ever been at this tournament, but still finding moments of quality within their play to ultimately get the job done. Heartbreak for Germany and any German fans out there. I know, being one myself, it was a very painful game to watch, but we move on. And we congratulate Spain for getting to this point. They truly have been an electrifying team. And they face a France team who haven't scored a goal from open play. I know it sounds crazy to say, but with the quality they have within this squad, a guy like Kylian Mbappe, a guy like Antoine Griezmann, has not gone on the score sheet. And they really have, though, adapted a defensive identity. Didier Deschamps' intelligence truly coming in handy when they are making these deep runs into these tournaments, because they just have the experience. They have the coach who knows what he's doing in latter rounds of tournaments, and thus that is why they are here. Like it or not, no matter the quality on the pitch and what Deschamps does with it, they have made it to this point, and you can't complain about it, because at some point this French team could be on for a couple of goals. And so Spain really has to be wary of what kind of mindset France is going to come into. Because if France assumes that a defensive identity, then that's where they might struggle. However, if they do feel that they can take it to France, much kind of like Germany did, except maybe in a less physical manner, then I believe that France might have their counter-attacking opportunities there. Looking at the betting odds, Spain is kind of a heavier favorite at plus 160, France at plus 205. Now, both of these teams have strong identities, and so I kind of feel it's very risky to choose a team based on their identity, because what we've seen from Spain certainly has been very enjoyable to watch, and it's been the most exciting football we've seen at a European Championships in quite some time, and they should be the heavy favorites. But still, I just can't get past France's defensive nous. No matter who the center backs are, this is a highly different center back pairing from what we saw in previous iterations of this French team, with William Saliba coming in and Dayot Upamecano also being there, and just the versatility and interchangeability of who can step into that defensive positions. We've seen Aurélien Tchouameni and Eduardo Camavinga kind of play positionless football. I really think that this game is going to come down too much to tactics for me to want to place all my eggs in one basket. That being said, Spain seemed to me like the safer bet here just because of their electrifying play and the fact that Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal, even though they did not play as well against Germany as people would have expected, still have the pace and speed and intelligence at such a young age to really frighten this France side. And so it should be a very tactically based battle. And let's leave it at that. Let's switch over to a more intriguing matchup between England and the Netherlands. Netherlands coming in as slight underdogs at plus 210. England the favorite at plus 155. And I honestly think this could be reversed, in my humble opinion. I think that the Netherlands look like the favorite. Both of these teams obviously on the weaker side of the bracket, so they haven't really had as much of a challenge as they'll have against each other. And also, when one of these teams has to go up against Spain or France in the final, that would be a very tough challenge. But focusing specifically on the semifinal, England did look at times kind of like the team we expected them to against Switzerland. There were moments where they played beautiful football. They understood their positions. Saka truly did adapt to his role. He's my man of the match in the tournament. Beautiful goal scored in that game to level the tie and ultimately send it to penalties. And what I think about England, yes, I read the comments where Gareth Southgate said that this England team was streetwise and they now had not only the experience but intelligence to adapt to whatever situation they're in. And in some ways I agree with him. In some ways, as much as I want to disagree with Gareth Southgate, mainly because I kind of feel like has held England back, he does have a point. In his tenure at England have been to more semifinals than they've ever been in their history. Southgate has the most semifinal appearances by an England manager ever. Not even Alf Ramsey or Bobby Robson can say that. I just feel like it's unfair to these England players that they didn't get there in a more exciting way, because they know that they have goals in them, and they know that in some respects Southgate could be holding them back. However, what I saw against Switzerland truly caught my attention because of the way he tried to create at least some width to this attack to accommodate players like Bellingham and Foden, who really were clogging up each other's spaces. And I really think he can use that to effect and take something away from that Switzerland game, where you saw the necessary adjustments made, and against a Netherlands side who really, in my humble opinion, haven't yet found their identity in this tournament. I know it's weird to say at such a late stage, but I think it's true of them. They really haven't found a true identity. I think that England can pounce on this situation and potentially make it a very tough game. And then looking at the Netherlands, they have had a very interesting route to the semifinal, obviously coming in third in their group, and being on the side of the bracket that's weaker ultimately helped them. They haven't really faced anyone who could really challenge them. They did fall behind to Turkey and was kind of a shock, but their ability to come back proves that they are a team that, no matter what, can find ways like England to win games in any situation. And so there's something to be said about that. But like I said, my problem with them is that they really don't have any sort of through line connecting the team to one another. There's no kind of true solidified game plan or identity that they go into any game with. I think they leave it up to a lot of individual quality, and Cody Gakpo has risen to the occasion, being one of those central forces on the squad. But it just seems to me like a bunch of individuals playing within themselves rather than a true team. But like it or not, they are here in the semifinal due to their individual qualities, and I think that, funnily enough, they are in a way the favorite in this game, because England, it certainly feels like, could shoot themselves in the foot, and the Netherlands, if there is any identity to what they do, prove that they can pounce on teams when they smell blood. I think that's what makes the Netherlands confident. When they smell blood, that's when their true colors shine. So England has to be really wary of what these individual players on the Netherlands can do, whether it be Cody Gakpo, whether Memphis Depay can find the shooting boots, and also that very tough and physical defense, and a goalkeeper in Bart Verbruggen playing in his first ever tournament who's really looked very confident. I really think this is going to be another interesting tie, but that should just about do it for this Euro semi-final preview. Coming up next, we switch from the world of football to the NBA, where we discuss a very seismic trade that shook up the Eastern Conference. We'll be right back to discuss what trade that is on the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind, 'cause everybody in the world